It is over 4 years since the Russian Federation's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Nearly 1,500 days of death, destruction, and despair. And today, far from abating, the violence is worse than ever. Since February 2022, the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights has verified that 15,364 civilians, including 775 children, have been killed in Ukraine. Over the winter, damage to Ukraine's energy infrastructure brought the country's energy grid to the brink of total collapse. According to Ukrainian authorities, 60% of gas production capacity has been destroyed, and all the country's power stations damaged, leading to persistent disruptions in electricity, heating, and water across the country. The Russian Federation has also reported attacks impacting civilians and civilian infrastructure. Over the weekend of 14 to 16 March, local authorities in the Russian Federation reported the largest Ukrainian drone attack targeting Moscow to date. At least 250 drones were reportedly shot down near the Russian capital. No civilian casualties have been reported.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Thank you for your briefing.
Strikes on energy and other vital infrastructure are cutting civilians off from the basics of survival: electricity, water, heat. Tens of thousands of families across the country are left in the dark and cold for weeks on end. These attacks reflect a sustained pattern of damage to the systems on which civilians depend to survive, with humanitarian increasingly stepping in to fill the gaps left by the deterioration of essential services. Despite these immense challenges and the risks to humanitarian operations and our people, help is getting through. In January alone, we and our partners reached nearly 1 million people with food, cash assistance, medical care, shelter, and protection. Over a cruel, cold winter, around 100 humanitarian organizations supported more than 1.6 million people. And in recent days, our interagency convoy reached a frontline community in the oblast of Kharkivska, delivering help to some 500 residents in an area with no pharmacies and limited availability of basic services.
From the day he returned to office last year, President Trump has made it clear that he's determined to end the war in Ukraine. That war never would have happened if he'd been president, and it's imperative to end the senseless death and destruction. And the war obviously doesn't just affect the belligerents. It has thrown the entire international, political, economic, and military order out of whack. What we're trying to do is to show both sides that they have more to gain from ending the war than from continuing to fight. Peace would unlock prosperity like this region has never seen before. It's unfortunate that the UN has failed to play the constructive role in seeking peace that President Trump has been playing.
Зеленский буквально ошарашен смещением внимания с Украины и его собственной героической персоны на ситуацию с эскалацией на Ближнем Востоке, объективно требующей пристального внимания международного сообщества. Вместо того, чтобы заботиться о своей собственной стране и народе, он пытается любой ценой напомнить о своей полезности западным кураторам. Любой ценой, а то, не дай бог, денежки, которые он регулярно складывал в свой карман и в карманы своих присных, утекут в далекий от Украины залив. Далекий от Украины. Очевидно, что для Киева сегодня важнее быть вовлеченным в любую войну, чем искать пути к миру у себя дома.
The Kremlin is not just providing Tehran with intelligence support, including satellite imagery and other crucial data that facilitate targeting of US military assets across the Middle East. There is, moreover, enough evidence that Russia is now transferring modernized Shahed-type drones to Iran, drawing on its own production capabilities based on licensed Iranian designs. The same Shahed drones that Tehran was sending to Moscow since the beginning of the war, 2022, to murder Ukrainian civilians are now produced in Russia and sent back both to destroy oil and gas infrastructure as the backbone of the economy in the Gulf state and to kill American soldiers. This axis of evil between Moscow and Tehran constitutes an enormous threat to international security. Their military cooperation is truly alarming. The United States and the international community must take this threat seriously and act before it is too late. With those Russian drones, the Tehran regime will be capable of waging this war for a very long period, destabilizing not just the region, but the whole global economy. Putin demands that Ukraine abandon, without a fight, territories in the Donetsk region that Moscow have failed to occupy over 12 years of its aggression. By turning such ultimatums into preconditions for negotiations, as we have seen, Russia is deliberately obstructing the peace process. That is one of the biggest stumbling blocks on the way to a peaceful resolution. Russia has simultaneously invented other unresolvable dilemmas, both demanding that Ukraine hold elections as a condition for a final peace settlement, while refusing at the same time the ceasefire which is needed for such elections.